afternoon. See, not all this time on the road, I can still tell the difference between morning and afternoon. Sometimes it's not that easy. We were joking the other day because a reporter was going around with us and apparently had set it as a task for himself to find a question where he would force me to say, I don't know, I'll have to check into that. And we were joking in the car because I said that if he really wanted to find an easy one to stump me, all he has to do is ask me what day of the week it is. Very often I don't know. I'm here to talk to you, though, thankfully, about something that even if you don't know what day of the week it is, it's hard to miss what time we are in for this country. And I say that if our eyes are open and our hearts are open and we're actually willing to look at the truth, it's not hard to miss. In other respects, it might be, though, because by the usual external measures, we are in pretty good shape. And every time you turn on the news now, you'll find some new report that confirms that our material condition is still pretty good, and we're on an even keel, and we're controlling inflation, and the unemployment's still down, and it looks like it's going to continue that way for a while. Why is it, though, that here we sit, midst of prosperity, our global situation with our enemies gone, except for those whose power and might we are preparing for the next century? It's like we can't do without adversaries, so we've got to build up another one. But we are in a little hiatus here where that's not a problem. How come it is, then, that everywhere I go in the country, I meet Americans who feel as if there's something deeply wrong with our country? Now, I know that there are those people in our lives who want to pretend that that's just because some of us look on the dark side of things and we don't want to be optimistic and so forth and so on. And then I come in to a situation such as the one we find in Omaha right now, and then we realize why it is that we're concerned, you see. Because I think that there are still many people in our country who understand that whatever may be our material condition and whatever may be the challenges that we face in the world, if you go back over the story and history of this country, we've been through our ups and downs. We've had good times and bad. We've had enormous challenges. We've had times when it looked like we were teetering on the brink of international destruction. What was it that got us through all those times? What was it that made it possible for there to be people of good heart and sound judgment and courage in the face of adversity, who, in spite of economic circumstances, in spite of challenges and violence and the battlefield and the dangers and fears engendered by all those things, could still hold firm and move forward and meet their obligations? There are things that money can't buy. There are things that are not the fruit of material success, because they get you through the times when that success is not certain and not present to all. And these are the things that at the end of the day many of us come to understand to be more important, more lasting, more permanent, more satisfying, more truthful than the material things. And I think for most human beings that comes about at some point in life, among other things, when you reach that point, and I don't know when it was for you, but at some point, and it can come early to some, later to others, you wake up one morning and you realize that you're not going to be Donald Trump or Bill Gates. That try as you might, the $30 and $50 billion will sort of elude you. And if you measure satisfaction in life only in material terms, most of us would go about extremely unhappy. But we don't. We don't because at some point we start to see with different eyes. I myself believe that at some point we start to open our hearts, not to the eyes with which we human beings look at one another, but rather to the way in which we must look to that God who, in spite of his power and self-sufficiency, is nonetheless willing to acknowledge that we exist. Who, in spite of having it all, still manages to see something in us. And to have seen something so important that he was even willing to make the greatest sacrifice of his heart for us. when you start to look at yourself and others with those eyes, that's when I think you come to an understanding of what is the real foundation of strength and power and hope and happiness in human life. And it doesn't take a form that can be measured in our gross national product. And it doesn't take a form that can be destroyed even when the unemployment goes down and the war clouds loom. Because it is a light that is proof against the darkness. I want to talk to you today about the fact that what I just said, there are those people who would say, oh, that's all well and good. They accuse me of being some kind of preacher, and they wonder what I am doing, talking anywhere but in the pulpit. And I've got to tell you, I think it's very short-sighted of us not to understand that the insight, which understands the importance of that moral character and life and integrity and sense that we have, it can't just be confined to some little part of our lives that we claim is going to be devoted to worshiping God. It can't be. It especially can't be for a people like ourselves. Because in a way, everything that we hold dear in this nation as Americans, everything that we think we are, that is special and that offers a hope to the future and to humankind, is connected in the end with our moral ideals. That's what I think has given us a special capacity to endure the ups and downs that history throws at us without losing our way, because from the very beginning we knew that somehow or another we were marked out. We walked a special path. But why was it special? It was special because we are a people dedicated to somehow realizing in practice and in life and in the way we conduct our affairs that understanding of human life and the human condition which looks at each person with the eyes of God, and that therefore sees in each and every person a spark of dignity and worth that is not to be discounted and disregarded for the sake of achieving our narrow little human ends and aims. From the very beginning, this principle was articulated for us, starting, of course, in our great Declaration of Independence. I am glad to say, by the way, that though several years ago when I first started talking about some of this, I did feel a little lonely in America. I have lots of company now. Have you noticed how many people talk about the Declaration these days? It's a good thing because it's a great and important reminder of where we come from that we must never forget if we want to stay on the right path. Because right there in those words, we have the writ, we have the permission from our history to speak the truth without which there can be no justice, no freedom, no hope in human life. And you know what that truth is? It's acknowledged right there when they tell us that the rights that we tout and that we hold dear and the sense of justice that is the foundation for our special way of life rests on a simple, clear, and unequivocal premise that our rights come from the hand of the Creator God. And that truth